Here at the Salt Palace back in the 70s and 80s, this place was rocking with fans cheering on our Golden Eagles, a minor league hockey team that produced multiple championships and NHL talent. While the team relocated decades ago, one of their star players stayed behind, and I caught up with him.
Right here, that's me.
Lenny Frigg,
Most valuable defenseman.
is one of the few remaining Golden Eagles to still call Salt Lake City home.
These are all in Salt Palace. Look at the fans back behind.
These days, he's overseeing the construction of pickleball and basketball courts. But back in the day, he was known as the enforcer on the ice when helmets were optional.
Never wore a helmet my whole career.
Oh, gosh. Drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks in 1969, the defenseman had quite the NHL career.
This is my rookie card from Chicago. Lost in the Stanley Cup Finals twice to Montreal when I was with Chicago.
After nearly a decade in the NHL, Frigg found his home with the Golden Eagles in 1978.
These two here are the two championship years. Back to back.
A team that became one of the best,
They're one of the most successful minor league franchises in sports.
with many of his Eagle teammates going on to play in the NHL.
Off of this team, there was 15 players that played in the NHL or went to the NHL.
Wow.
Jimmy Neal right here in the middle. Joey Mullen. He ended up playing in the NHL for 17 years. Won 3 Stanley Cups.
Big-time names that drew big-time crowds at the Salt Palace.
Was it bigger than the Jazz?
Back then, yes. In the last, for about 5-6 years in a row, they used to outdraw the Jazz.
Despite the crowds and success, when the Central Hockey League folded in 1984, the cost became hard to sustain for co-owner Artis.
The last 3 years, he had to pay for the IHL teams to fly in here. He basically sold it to Larry Miller, and Larry kept it for that 1 year, and then he sold the whole franchise to the owner of the Detroit Pistons, and they became the Detroit Vipers.
Decades later, however, Frigg reflects on the lasting impact of the Golden Eagles.
You go to a lot of the Grizzly games, there was still a lot of Golden Eagle jerseys still being worn.
When you look at where the sport is today in the state of Utah, what do you think about it?
Oh, I think people are going to be astonished. I think that, I seriously think they got a good chance to get to the playoffs this year.
And while the days of the Salt Palace are gone, Frigg believes the spirit of those deafening crowds lives on.
The Salt Palace was louder than a lot of NHL arenas back then, seriously. And that's what I'm thinking is going to happen here. The other teams are going to be looking, Jesus, these people, they're loud.
Kristen Kenny, KUTV 2 News.